Yes, so welcome to our bonus episode. Our bonus track, I suppose. Yes, bonus track, because we're tapes. We're not people. We're tapes.
Indeed.
Yes, we're all tapes. We're like, what was it, Soundscream? No.
Starscream was a fucking airplane, you fucking savages.
Yeah. Which one was the tape?
Soundwave, but he was a tape player. They had like tapes that lived inside him called Rumble, Laserbeak.
And Roy.
Yeah. Roy G. Bib. Yeah, you can laugh. Yeah, laugh it up. Oh, gee. Someday.
I'll start laughing when I understand the words that you're saying.
Transformer transformations were weird. It's like, oh yeah, the what's the boss of the big evil robot a Nazi's gonna be? Oh well, he's gonna be a gun. Oh, so he can't even control himself? No, he has to be held by someone who technically really hates him and wants to destroy him.
True.
But also loves him at the same time. It's a very weird dynamic him and fucking Starscream have.
Yes, love and hate, and fondling and caressing and touching and shooting. It's very homoerotic when you think about it.
No, it's not the robots.
Yeah, Transformers is the children's cartoon equivalent of Top Gun.
Yeah. Highway to
Kenny
the
Loggins.
danger zone.
Kenny Loggins did some good. You know, when we were doing the movie soundtrack thing, we didn't cover Kenny Loggins enough.
Nowhere near enough, no.
Because, like, he did that. He did Footloose, and he also...
Oh my god, Footloose, we forgot about Footloose.
Yeah, he also did fucking Watch Him in Caddyshack.
Yeah.
He also did the main really good song for Titanic. Celine Dion gets credit for it, but he actually did it.
Yeah, imagine instead of that being playing at the end, if it was kind of like I'm all right, and the gopher just came in and started kind of dancing.
So much better. Dancing on the
Rodney
fucking floating
Dangerfield
door.
was they replaced that drunk baker with Rodney Dangerfield just running around.
Yeah, I get no respect.
You get patio furniture and you get patio furniture.
Hey, what's up this guy's nose?
It was cocaine.
It's always cocaine.
That's we went back looking at the Chappel Show. Actually, well, looking back at it, it's the first time I ever fucking looked at it.
So that's through the whole thing, yeah.
But the musician thing on it, they end up the two you have to look for this if you can find it. It's actually surprisingly hard to find. But the sketches on it are fucking brilliant. The first sketch on it, I don't think I haven't laughed as hard. It's about this blind black guy who's a white supremacist.
He doesn't know he's black.
He doesn't know he's black.
Tries to join the Ku Klux Klan and everything.
It's fucking. It's creased.
I've heard of him actually. Yeah.
But it was like he did this thing with Eddie Murphy's brother was working on the show, Charlie Murphy. And they were like, he's always telling these stories about like hanging around with Eddie and like all the fame stuff. And he did this thing about Rick James, which is fairly famous. But I didn't realise that Rick James, the real Rick James who did Super Freak, was actually going to be there for the end. But he kept like finishing off things with like, oh, cocaine is one hell of a drug.
Yeah, he just goes these rambling stories, and the stories have just turned out to be these absolute mental fucking rambling things. And it's like, yeah,
he used to just like bitch slap people and things. But he went into like Eddie Murphy's house one day and just sat on his sofa with like there was a cream sofa with like muddy boots that Eddie Murphy was just after buying the sofa, and he destroyed it. And he was like, "Fuck you, Eddie Murphy! You can buy another fucking sofa."
He was like kicking all the dirt in. He was like, yeah, see how you like me now, bitch. Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
But like the story about Prince was that like they met Prince.
I saw that one before actually. I hadn't seen the other one, but I saw the Prince one before. And when I well, I'll even talk about that, and I'll talk about one thing I found really funny about it.
But it was, with fucking Prince and the kind of like, I can't remember because he always had like different names on the band at the time, but that they ended up bringing your men back and they gave him basketball and stuff, and they were playing basketball, and Prince came out just in his normal kind of Prince clothes playing and was like shooting fucking and like better, and they were like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, Prince. Motherfucker.
You look at one of the two things I really like that. It's like, and then he cooked them all pancakes.
Oh, yeah.
But what I really like about that is because obviously Dave Chappelle dressed up as Prince in that sketch.
Yeah.
So what I really like is Prince later on, instead of like getting angry that like Dave Chappelle was taking the piss out of him or anything, in one of his later albums or something like that, like the cover art is just Dave Chappelle dressed up as Prince.
I didn't know that.
And people are like, are you gonna like sue him for like taking your likeness? It's like, no. he took a picture of me dressed up as him. Like he checkmated my ass.
That's what I think Prince was.
He was very fucking funny at times. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he had a good sense of humor.
But I mean, the whole thing with fucking, it was just. I'm sure Dave Chappelle is after winning the Mark Twain Award now, which is on Netflix. Even if you, Jen, if you haven't seen any of his stuff, look at his stand up on Netflix. He's fucking brilliant. He is, without probably one of the best comedians alive.
Like all I've been doing ever since I hadn't seen a lot of the sketches either as well, and all I've been doing walking around the house is going, what? Yeah. Okay.
He does the thing with Little John, yeah.
It's fucking hilarious.
But that's it. And like, I mean, the musicians that he got on it for the time as well.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And we must look at the Block Party, because he did this thing in New York where he basically just got, a load of famous rappers to do like a block party.
Okay. What I've started getting into a lot recently at the moment is the Joe Rogan podcast, as well as just Tom Segura folks up, and he does a bunch of podcasts himself. And because I was looking
Mama's House, isn't it?
Yeah, that one. And then there's like Two Bears, One Cave. He does that with
Bert Kirshner.
Exactly, yeah.
See,
every time I think of him, I just think of the machine.
You're getting old, Mark.
Yeah,
this is what starts happening. You start
Joe
getting
Rogan
into
is
Joe
like
Rogan.
man's Oprah Winfrey.
I love Joe Rogan.
Another year or 2 years, and you'll be doing jiu-jitsu as well.
Yeah.
And then a year after it, I'll be like, my back.
Yeah.
And then the other YouTuber that I'm loving, that you introduced me to, is Binging with Babish.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
He's brilliant.
He's a cooking YouTuber, and he basically he finds stuff off like TV shows and cartoons, and he like makes the like cartoon or like equivalent of it. First he makes it as exactly as it is in that, and then he makes the good version. It's a really good show to watch, especially if you're like eating it or just like, yeah, this is nice.
We were watching him making sourdough bread yesterday, and like you wouldn't think it's a actually enjoyable process to watch, but it's kind of addictive.
So yes, you are correct, Wayne. We are getting old.
Yes, this is what starts happening.
Well, I was watching Joe Rogan was interviewing James Hetfield there a while ago, and they were sitting there and they were talking about beekeeping, archery, fucking slip discs, and I was just sitting there identifying so hard with all of that. I was kind of like, yes, that's beekeeping.
Beads.
I tried archery before, wasn't for me.
I like archery, but it's like it's just a roll of the dice whether I'll hit the target or I miss.
That might be why you're missing targets.
I came within like a centimetre of hitting someone in the head with an arrow before, so I kind of stopped.
That's very poor archery. I
should have kept training,
say.
and then you could have hit him in the
To be
head.
fair, they did walk straight past my target.
That's even worse.
Which was their child. Protecting the child,
Please,
the mother
Mommy,
died.
don't. Oh my god, what are you doing?
Why I brought up Joe Rogan in the first place was because I'm watching all these podcasts and whatnot. The YouTube algorithm kind of goes, oh, you like Joe Rogan and you're listening to this and that. So what I actually brought up today was a scene from the Dave Chappelle Show where it's
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, where it's like the crack addict is on Fear Factor.
Oh jeez, that crack addict is fucking brilliant. There's a bit where he gives us.
Yeah, he's just like on it, and they're like, "Oh, go into worms." He's like, "Nah, it's just fine. I'm just gonna stay here." And then at the end, like he's like, "You must eat some yak dicks." He's like, "It's not the first dick I've eaten."
There's a bit with him where he's meant to do this scared straight thing and come into school, and he's like, "Oh, I was 12 when I first took my first LSD and went home and all the little cartoon characters came alive." And he was like selling like how great it was to the kids. But Dave Chappelle, but guarantee Joe Rogan, it will lead you down some strange things.
Joe Rogan,
noticed that already.
Joe Rogan just has his own strange fucking pat. If you just look at him, he's like, "Oh, serial martial artist, sad comedian. No, I try to do this. Oh, now I'm just getting high with random people or getting like stoned and."
But everything they've done, he's done as well, which I find hilarious.
Yeah.
Like anytime somebody mentions something, he's like, "Oh yeah, I was just doing that the other day." And I was like, "How the fuck were you doing everything that somebody has done.
Oh yeah, it was the plane that flew into the Twin Towers.
But that was when people kind of like talk about. They say one thing, but he's not a fake at all. Like,
No,
he
he's
could have
super
sold out
enthusiastic about
years
everything.
ago with the podcast, and he just don't. It's still just his podcast. He won't have it on Spotify or fucking anything at all, because he's like, no, it's my thing. I'll just do it. He never thought I'd get big. He used to do the Man Show with Doug Stanhope years ago as well. But like, yeah, you'll start getting into, if you can, check out his interview with Rob Zombie. It's fucking hilarious. It's like, Rob Zombie is brilliant. He is so funny, but it's just when Rob Zombie is talking about when he moved to New York at first from like basically like the countryside,
nowhere, yeah.
and he was like, the first day he was there, someone got murdered
In front of his eyes. Yeah.
and but he's just like, Rob Zombie is a great storyteller. He's just very, very, very funny. Or Henry Rollins. He's someone you should definitely check out as well. He's very good. But what'll end up happening, you'll start listening to Joe Rogan, then you start finding that you're listening to Jocko Willink as well.
I haven't heard of him yet.
Don't know who that is, no.
He's basically an ex-fucking Navy SEAL.
Oh.
But you'll start kind of, because it's the great thing about Joe Rogan podcast. He gets so many different guests on as well. I love when they have like the alien ones on it, obviously enough because I'm into that. But like, he's getting some fucking fantastic musicians on.
Yeah,
like,
he has a serious following as well.
Exactly, yeah. But one that kind of I found really like the most interesting so far, anyway. And I've only watched maybe 3 or 4. Like I saw like kind of them popping up on YouTube as a recommendation, so I just click on that random one. So I've only started like listening to them as they're coming out in the last 2 or 3 days. But the first one that I saw that really made me go, oh, I'll watch another one of these now, was his interview with Daryl Davis, who was the guy who
Run DMC.
No, he was a guy who would just who has like over the span of I think 20 or 30 years has got like a bunch of like KKK members and Nazis to just hang up their cloaks and all that.
That was really interesting, actually. Really enjoyed that one.
Yeah. So like that was interesting, but yeah, like he does just have a massively wide range of people on it. So you can't like each one is just going to be different. So that's what's interesting about it. But I was really into podcasts for a while, and then I just kind of got off them. And I think this is going to be my gateway drug back into them.
Yeah, because I'm starting to kind of listen to podcasts in the night just before we kind of go sleep and stuff. And I'm really enjoying it as well.
Joe Rogan, yeah, he's definitely like, I mean, I think because he has Kevin Smith on it fairly frequently actually, but it's the whole thing with it was him and Kevin Smith would have started doing the podcast at around the same time where they weren't really big.
No, they were kind of forerunners, I suppose, really, when they weren't a thing, really.
No, they weren't.
Everyone's kind of like, why would you listen to a podcast? Just tune into radio or just watch TV or something like that.
It would have been kind of like, I suppose, before Adam Carolla and a few others were. And but it was like Joe Rogan and Kevin Smith, I think, really.
But that's because they're just engaging personalities themselves as well, while not taking over the whole show, if you know what I mean. They let their guests shine, but they're super enthusiastic and interested in what people have to say.
Poor Jamie on the Joe Rogan show. He's like assistant.
Yeah.
Like, Jamie, bring that up.
Jamie do this, Jamie do the other. Yeah, Jamie the slave.
Well, what I find funny is sometimes like you can like see Jamie is like on the couples that like he's like Joe Rogan's like, oh, it's this, and like Jamie's like, no, it's not. He's like, it is. Jamie look it up. He's like, no, I found this. He's like, that's not the one with the Yeti dick. Show me the one with the Yeti dick, Jamie.
As well, like, I mean, there was Kevin Smith the last time that he was on. I was only looking at it again there the other night. He turned around and he said to him about that, like, I think this sums Joe Rogan up perfectly. There was a whole TED talk about Joe Rogan at one stage about that, how to argue or like Joe, or how to kind of like be honest without being rude to people, where it is just he's like very forthright saying, no, I'm not doing it, no, I don't want to do this. And Kevin Smith, after he had the heart attack and he was doing the Jane sign, Silent Bob reboot. He wanted everyone that he knew to be in it, and he sent like Joe Rogan a message saying, or to the manager saying, "Oh, will he be in it?" And she was like, "No, he won't." And he was like, "All right, I'll just message him himself directly." And he was like, "Oh, about this," and kind of like I had the heart attack with the message, and Joe just he was like, "No, I'm not doing it." He was like, well, and he was like, "Why won't you do it?" And he was like, "I don't have the fucking time." He was like, "I do 5 podcasts a week. I still do stand up.
Still do the
I do the UFC stuff
on the UFC,
and all these things."
Busy
He said,
man.
how am I meant to get the time to do it?" And he said as well, "I just don't like acting." He said, "It's just not something I want to do or have any interest in doing." But he's just forthright about stuff, and that's when you see a
don't
lot
have
of
to
the
be rude.
podcasts.
Exactly,
He gets into arguments with people, but it's not arguments. He's just like, "No, you're wrong."